In the far reaches of the Andromeda Galaxy, every species knew and feared the Vexor Empire. For 10,000 years they had conquered without defeat. They controlled hundreds of star systems and ruled over 37 different alien races. The secret to their power was not their numbers or their weapons, but something far more special: the legendary Eternity Armor. The armor was unlike anything else in the known universe. It looked like liquid metal that flowed and changed shape. It could become hard as diamond or flexible like cloth. It could repair itself when damaged. It could adapt to any weapon used against it. Most amazing of all, it seemed to think for itself, choosing who could wear it and bonding with them forever. Commander Zeth was the current bearer of the Eternity Armor. He stood 7 feet tall with blue-tinted skin and 4 arms. His people, the original Vexar race, had once been peaceful explorers until they discovered the armor on an abandoned planet. After that, they became conquerors. Zeth had personally led the takeover of 17 star systems wearing the armor. No enemy force had ever managed to harm him. "Commander, we have detected new signals from the edge of the Milky Way galaxy," reported Officer Krell, bowing low before Zeth's command chair. Zeth turned his head slowly. The armor rippled across his chest, sensing his interest. "What kind of signals?" "A new species has developed faster than light travel. They call themselves humans." The armor pulsed with a soft blue light. Zeth felt its curiosity mix with his own. In all their conquests, they had found many races, but none had presented a true challenge in centuries. "Show me," he ordered. The main screen displayed images of Earth ships venturing beyond their solar system for the first time. They were small, clumsy-looking vessels compared to the sleek Vexar battleships. "They appear weak," Zeth said. But he felt the armor vibrate slightly against his skin. After so many years together, he could sense its moods. The armor was interested in these humans. "Prepare my personal scout ship. I will assess this new species myself." Across the vast emptiness of space, on the blue-green planet called Earth, humanity celebrated a historic achievement. After decades of work, they had finally developed engines capable of interstellar travel. "Captain Mitchell, please step forward," said Admiral Harris during the ceremony at Space Command headquarters in Houston. Lisa Mitchell walked across the stage with confidence. At 36 years old, she had already made a name for herself. As one of the best pilots in the fleet, she had short brown hair, alert green eyes, and the kind of calm presence that made people trust her judgment. What made her special wasn't just her flying skills or her intelligence. Lisa had an unusual talent for understanding machines. She could look at an engine and somehow know what was wrong with it. Some called it intuition, but Lisa considered it a form of communication. "It is my honor to appoint you as captain of the UES Horizon," the Admiral said, handing her the official command codes. "You will lead our first diplomatic mission beyond the solar system." The crowd cheered. Lisa smiled, but inside she felt the weight of responsibility. The mission would take them to Proxima Centauri, the nearest star system to Earth. They would establish a small research station and begin mapping safe routes for future expansion. 2 weeks later, the UES Horizon departed Earth's orbit with a crew of 87 specialists. The massive ship housed scientists, engineers, security personnel, and diplomats. Lisa's second-in-command was Officer Ben Carter, a thoughtful, tactical expert with a dry sense of humor. "All systems nominal, Captain," Ben reported as they prepared for their first jump through space. "Engine core stable at 94%. Jump coordinates locked." Lisa nodded. "Take us out, Officer Carter." The ship hummed as power flowed to the jump engines. The stars outside the viewport stretched into lines, and then they were moving faster than light itself. The journey to Proxima Centauri would take just 9 days using the new drive. None of them knew they were being watched. From his scout ship, Commander Zeth observed the human vessel. The Eternity Armor allowed him to track their path through space. He felt the armor's excitement growing. In 10,000 years, it had never reacted this way to a new species. "What do you sense, old friend?" Zeth asked quietly. The armor didn't communicate in words, but in feelings and images. Right now it was sending him confusing signals. Interest mixed with something like concern. They followed the human ship at a distance. Zeth studied everything about them, their technology, their communications, their behaviors. The Vexar Empire's policy was clear. Any new spacefaring race must be evaluated. If deemed a potential threat, they would be conquered or eliminated. If deemed harmless, they might be allowed to exist as a subject race. The UES Horizon arrived at Proxima Centauri and began establishing their research base on a rocky moon orbiting the system's largest gas giant. Captain Mitchell led the first team to the surface. She wore a standard exploration suit with the United Earth Space Command insignia on the shoulder. "The atmosphere readings are within acceptable limits," said Communications Officer Peter Kim as they stepped onto the rocky surface. "Low oxygen, but our suits can handle it." "Look at this view," Lisa said, gazing up at the massive gas giant that filled half the sky. Its swirling storms of red and gold were beautiful against the blackness of space. Security Officer Natalie Cruz scanned the area with her equipment. "Captain, I'm picking up some unusual readings about 2 kilometers east. Might be worth checking." Out. The team hiked across the rocky terrain and discovered something unexpected: the remains of an artificial structure. It was old, possibly thousands of years old, but clearly not natural. "We're not the first visitors here," Lisa said, examining the strange metal alloy of the ruins. "This is incredible." Back on the ship, Officer Ben Carter detected an approaching vessel. "Captain, we have company. Unknown craft approaching at high speed, not responding to hails." Lisa and her team rushed back to their shuttle. "Get everyone back to the ship, now." Before they could reach safety, a blinding light appeared in the sky. Zeth's scout ship descended, landing between the humans and their shuttle. The team froze as a hatch opened and a figure emerged. Commander Zeth stood before them, the Eternity armor gleaming in the dim light of the distant sun. It shifted and moved across his body like living mercury. The humans stared in awe and fear, but something strange was happening. As Zeth moved closer to the humans, the armor began to pulse and ripple in an unusual pattern. When he came within 20 feet of Captain Mitchell, the armor actually seemed to hesitate. For the first time in 10,000 years of conquest, the invincible Eternity armor had encountered something that gave it pause, and neither Zeth nor the humans understood why. Time seemed to freeze as the humans stared at the alien figure before them. Commander Zeth stood tall and imposing, his blue skin contrasting with the shimmering silver of the Eternity armor that covered most of his body. The armor moved like it was alive, flowing across his form and pulsing with inner light. Captain Lisa Mitchell stepped forward, placing herself between the alien and her crew. She had trained for first contact scenarios, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "I am Captain Lisa Mitchell of the United Earth Space Command," she said clearly, hoping the alien had some way to understand her words. To everyone's surprise, the armor itself seemed to respond. Its surface rippled with patterns of light that spread from Zeth's chest to his head. When Zeth spoke, his voice was deep and had a metallic quality, but the words were in perfect English. "I am Commander Zeth of the Vexar Empire. This territory now belongs to us." Lisa kept her voice steady. "We come in peace. This is a scientific mission." Zeth moved closer, and the team could see how the armor shifted with each movement, never restricting him but always protecting every inch of his body. "Your species is new to space travel. The Vexar Empire has ruled for 10,000 years. We determine which races may travel between stars." Lieutenant Jack Rivera, the team's weapons specialist, raised his pulse rifle nervously. "Captain, I don't like this." "Lower your weapon, Lieutenant," Lisa ordered, but it was too late. Feeling threatened, Jack fired a shot directly at the alien's chest. The energy pulse struck the armor and simply disappeared into it. The spot where the blast hit glowed briefly. Then the armor's surface changed pattern slightly. "Interesting weapon," Zeth said, sounding almost amused. "The armor has now analyzed and adapted to it. No similar weapon will ever affect me." Lisa held up her hands. We apologize for that action. My officer acted without orders. But Zeth was distracted. The armor was behaving strangely. As he stood near Captain Mitchell, the perfect surface of the Eternity armor showed small ripples, like water disturbed by a gentle breeze. For thousands of years, the armor had been perfectly in sync with his movements and thoughts. Now it seemed uncertain. Zeth took another step toward Lisa, and the armor's rippling increased. He felt a strange sensation through his bond with the ancient technology, something like curiosity mixed with confusion. You, he said, pointing at Lisa. Come closer. Officer Natalie Cruz moved her hand to her weapon. Captain, don't. Lisa shook her head slightly at Natalie and took a careful step toward the alien commander. As the distance between them decreased, the armor's surface became increasingly agitated. Small flickers of blue electricity danced across its surface. What, are you? Zeth demanded, his voice hiding a note of concern. Never in his lifetime had the armor reacted this way to any being. Lisa didn't understand the question. I'm human. From Earth. Zeth raised his hand, and the armor extended from his fingers, reaching toward Lisa like metallic tentacles. Peter Kim shouted a warning, but before anyone could react, the armor made contact with Lisa's spacesuit. The moment of contact produced a visible shock wave. The armor recoiled, actually pulling back from Lisa's form. Zeth staggered backward, equally surprised by the armor's reaction. Return to your ship, Zeth ordered suddenly. The Vexar Empire will decide your fate. With that, he retreated to his scout craft. The humans wasted no time getting back to their shuttle and returning to the UES horizon. Once aboard, the command crew gathered in the meeting room. Everyone spoke at once, trying to make sense of what had happened. Quiet, please, Lisa said. The room fell silent. Officer Kim, what did your scans tell us about that being and the technology it was wearing? Peter looked at his datapad. The alien, Zeth, appears to be carbon-based life, somewhat similar to us but with significant differences. 4 arms, different internal organs. But the armor. Captain, it broke all our scanning equipment. The readings were off the charts. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Ben Carter frowned. He said his empire has ruled for 10,000 years. If that's true, we're dealing with a civilization far beyond our own technological level. And they don't seem friendly, added Natalie Cruz. When Rivera's weapon had no effect, I knew we were outmatched. Lisa nodded slowly. There's something else. Did you notice how the armor reacted when it got close to me? It seemed to hesitate. I saw that too, said Peter. It was almost like it recognized you, or something about you confused it. In his scout ship, Commander Zeth was having a similar conversation, but with the armor itself. Through their mental link, he could sense the armor's distress. What happened back there? He asked aloud, though he didn't need to speak for the armor to understand him. What is it about these humans? The armor couldn't reply with words, but it sent images and feelings into Zeth's mind. Confusion, recognition. Something about the human female's bioelectrical field had disrupted the armor's normal functions. In all its existence, nothing like this had ever occurred. Zeth opened a communication channel to the Vexar homeworld. The High Command needed to know about this development immediately. Back on the UES horizon, Captain Mitchell made a difficult decision. We need to return to Earth with this information. We're not equipped to handle a potentially hostile advanced alien empire. But the research station, Ben protested. All our work can wait, Lisa finished firmly. The safety of Earth comes first. Officer Carter, plot a course home. Maximum speed. As the human ship prepared to jump back to their home system, Zeth watched from a distance. The armor continued to pulse erratically when focused on the human vessel. Follow them, Zeth commanded his ship's computer. We need to learn more about these humans, especially their captain. The UES horizon jumped into faster-than-light travel, unaware that they were being followed. As they raced toward Earth, Lisa Mitchell sat alone in her quarters, replaying the encounter in her mind. Something about that armor had reacted to her presence. But why? What made her different? She didn't know it yet, But the answer to that question would change the fate of both humanity and the Vexar Empire forever. The armor that had never known defeat had encountered something new in humans, something that would challenge its very existence. The journey back to Earth took 9 days. Captain Lisa Mitchell spent most of that time preparing her report about the alien encounter. How could she explain the threat they now faced? An advanced empire with technology that seemed like magic, compared to Earth's best weapons. When the UES Horizon arrived in Earth's orbit, an emergency meeting of the Space Command Council was called. Admiral Harris and 12 other high-ranking officials sat around a large table as Lisa showed them the video recordings of Commander Zeth and the strange armor. "As you can see," Lisa said, pointing to the screen, "Lieutenant Rivera's weapon had no effect. The armor simply absorbed the energy blast." Admiral Harris leaned forward, his face serious. "And you believe this Vexar Empire poses a direct threat to Earth?" "Yes, sir. Commander Zeth made it clear that they control who can travel in space. They will not allow us to expand freely." Dr. Olivia Scott, the head scientist for Space Command, raised her hand. She was a short woman with curly gray hair and intelligent eyes. "Captain Mitchell, can you show us again the moment when the armor reacted to your presence?" Lisa played the video. Everyone watched carefully as the alien armor rippled and pulsed when it got close to her. "That's very interesting," Dr. Scott said quietly. "The armor seems almost afraid of you." "Afraid?" Lisa hadn't thought of it that way. Dr. Scott nodded. "May I run some tests on you, Captain? There might be something about your biology that affects this technology." Over the next week, Lisa underwent numerous tests while Earth prepared for a possible alien invasion. Military forces worldwide were put on high alert. Scientists worked day and night to develop weapons that might work against the Eternity armor. What they didn't know was that Zeth's scout ship was already hiding on the dark side of the moon, monitoring their communications and studying their defenses. "Such primitive technology," Zeth said to himself as he watched Earth's preparations. "They have no chance against the Vexar fleet." Yet the armor continued to behave strangely. It seemed restless on Zeth's body, shifting and pulsing without his command. Through their mental link, Zeth sensed the armor was deeply interested in these humans, especially Captain Mitchell. Back on Earth, Dr. Scott burst into Admiral Harris's office with exciting news. "We found something," she announced. "Captain Mitchell has a rare genetic trait. Her cells produce an unusual electromagnetic field." The Admiral looked confused. "What does that mean?" "It means," Dr. Scott explained, "that there's something about her biology that interferes with the alien armor. And she's not the only one. We tested thousands of people and found 12 others with the same trait. One of those 12 was Greg Foster, a young engineer who worked in the Weapons Development Division. When he heard about his special biology, he immediately began working on a device that could amplify the effect. Meanwhile, the Vexar High Command had grown impatient. They sent a fleet of 20 warships to Earth with orders to conquer the planet quickly. Commander Zeth was instructed to lead the attack. As the Vexar fleet approached, Earth's early warning systems detected them. Panic spread across the planet. This was humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and it was about to become a war. Admiral Harris summoned Captain Mitchell to the command center. "The alien fleet will reach Earth in 6 hours. We need options, Captain." Lisa studied the tactical displays. Earth's combined military forces were gathering, but deep down she knew they were no match for the aliens. "Sir," she said, "Dr. Scott believes there's something about my biology that affects the armor. What if we can use that somehow?" Just then, Greg Foster rushed into the room carrying a small device. "I think I have something that might help," he said breathlessly. "I call it the harmonic disruptor. It amplifies the electromagnetic field produced by people with our genetic trait." He placed the device on the table. It was about the size of a small laptop, with glowing blue components inside clear casing. "The field we naturally produce is too weak to do more than cause that ripple effect we saw in the video," Greg explained. "But this device multiplies the field strength by 1,000. If Captain Mitchell carries this when she faces Commander Zeth again, It might disrupt the armor completely, Dr. Scott finished. Admiral Harris frowned. You want to send Captain Mitchell to face this alien commander alone? That's too dangerous. Not alone, Lisa said. We can form a special team of the people with this genetic trait, each of us carrying one of these devices. Greg nodded. I can build more disruptors, but it will take time. Time we don't have, the Admiral said grimly. The Vexar fleet will be here in hours. Lisa stood tall. Then I'll go with the one we have. If I can get close enough to Commander Zeth, maybe I can disable his armor temporarily. That might give us a chance to negotiate. No one liked the plan, but they had few options. As Earth's military forces prepared for battle, Lisa boarded a small, fast shuttle with the harmonic disruptor. Her mission was to approach the Vexar command ship under a flag of truce and request a meeting with Commander Zeth. As Lisa's shuttle left Earth's atmosphere, the Vexar fleet appeared in the distance. 20 massive ships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built, arranged in perfect formation. This is Captain Lisa Mitchell of Earth, she transmitted. I request a peaceful meeting with Commander Zeth. There was a long silence. Then, a response came. Approach the lead vessel, you will be permitted to dock. Lisa's heart pounded as her shuttle moved toward the enormous alien ship. Was she flying into a trap? Possibly. But if there was even a small chance that the harmonic disruptor would work, she had to try. The shuttle docked with the Vexar command ship. Lisa took a deep breath, checked that the disruptor was secure in her pack, and stepped through the airlock. Commander, Zeth was waiting for her, the Eternity armor gleaming under the ship's lights. As soon as Lisa entered the room, the armor began to ripple and pulse just as it had during their first meeting. You are brave to come here alone, Zeth said. Your planet will soon be part of the Vexar Empire. Lisa stood her ground. That doesn't have to happen. We can find a peaceful solution. As she spoke, she slowly moved closer to Zeth, watching as the armor's agitation increased. She needed to get within 3 feet for the disruptor to have its full effect. Zeth noticed her approach and stepped back. Stay where you are, human. But it was too late. Lisa activated the harmonic disruptor in her pack. A wave of invisible energy filled the room. The effect on the Eternity armor was immediate and dramatic. The armor's surface churned violently. Blue sparks erupted across its surface. For the first time in 10,000 years, the invincible armor was in distress, and, deep within its ancient programming, the armor made a decision that would change everything. Commander Zeth fell to his knees as the Eternity armor writhed across his body. He had never felt anything like this before. For the first time in his life, he felt the armor's pain and confusion. It was like a scream inside his mind. What have you done? He gasped, looking up at Lisa. The harmonic disruptor continued to emit its invisible waves. The armor's perfect surface was now chaotic, its color changing from silver to blue to red and back again. Parts of it seemed to be trying to pull away from Zeth's body while other parts clung tighter. Lisa stood her ground, though she was shocked by the violent reaction. We don't want to destroy you or your armor. We just want peace. Suddenly, a voice spoke in Lisa's mind. It wasn't Zeth's voice, it was different, ancient and strange. You are like the creators. Lisa gasped. Who said that? Who's speaking to me? Zeth's eyes widened. The armor is communicating with you directly? Impossible. The voice came again, stronger now. You carry the Creator's pattern, not seen in 50,000 years. Lisa realized with amazement that the armor itself was speaking to her telepathically. She addressed it directly. What do you mean? What creators? Those who made me, the ones who were destroyed. You share their genetic pattern. The revelation stunned both Lisa and Zeth. The armor had never communicated this way with any species except its chosen bearers from the Vexar race. Zeth struggled to stand. The armor is sacred. It chose our people as worthy. But the armor was, still speaking to Lisa, not chose, used, needed carriers to survive after creators died. This news shook Zeth to his core. All his life, he had believed the armor chose the Vexar because they were superior to all other races. The idea that it had merely used them as survival tools was unthinkable. "Turn off your device," Zeth said to Lisa. "Please, it causes pain." Lisa hesitated, then slowly reached into her pack and switched off the harmonic disruptor. The armor gradually stabilized, though it continued to pulse with blue light. "Thank you," the armor communicated to Lisa. "Long-forgotten safety protocol activated by your genetic signature. Creators installed failsafe." Lisa tried to understand. "You're saying my genetic trait is some kind of key? A way to control the armor? Not control. Communicate. Remember purpose." Zeth was listening intently now, trying to hear the armor's communications through their bond. He was getting fragments, enough to understand that everything he knew about the armor's history was wrong. "What is your true purpose?" Lisa asked the armor. "To preserve knowledge, to find worthy civilizations, not to conquer." The revelation hung in the air between them. For 10,000 years, the Vexar Empire had used the armor as a weapon of conquest. Never knowing its true purpose was entirely different. Zeth looked devastated. "If this is true, then our entire empire is built on a mistake." "Not mistake," the armor communicated, now allowing both Lisa and Zeth to hear. "Corruption of purpose. Original programming damaged in the Great War. Safety protocols dormant until now." Lisa took a risk and stepped closer to Zeth. The armor rippled, but did not react violently without the disruptor active. "Commander, your empire doesn't have to be about conquest. It could be about knowledge and cooperation." Zeth stood silent for a long moment. His entire worldview was crumbling around him. Then his communication device buzzed. The fleet admiral was requesting an update on the human intruder. "I need time to think," Zeth said. "But the fleet will not wait. They expect me to lead the attack on your planet." Lisa felt a chill. Despite this breakthrough, Earth was still in danger. "What if you told them you're negotiating with us? That could buy us time." Zeth considered this. The High Command would expect results quickly. They will not accept lengthy talks. The armor, still communicating with both of them, offered a solution. Bring more humans with the genetic marker. Full restoration of original protocols possible with stronger field. Lisa understood. "The other 12 people on Earth who share my genetic trait. Together with more disruptors, we might be able to fully reactivate the armor's original programming." "And then what?" Zeth asked. "Then perhaps the armor can communicate its true purpose to your leaders," Lisa suggested, "with proof that it was never meant for conquest." Zeth nodded slowly. "It might work. The armor is sacred to our people. If its true will became known—" "We need to return to Earth," Lisa said urgently. "I need to gather the others." Zeth made his decision. "I will tell the fleet we are conducting special tests on human subjects before the invasion. It will give us 12 hours at most." Lisa sent a message to Admiral Harris explaining the situation. The plan was risky, but it was Earth's best hope. Soon, Lisa's shuttle was heading back to Earth, escorted by Zeth's personal craft. When they landed, military forces surrounded them with weapons drawn. Admiral Harris approached cautiously. "Captain Mitchell, are you all right?" "Yes, sir," Lisa replied. "And I've learned something incredible about the armor." In the hours that followed, Dr. Scott gathered the 12 humans with the special genetic marker. Greg Foster worked frantically to build more harmonic disruptors. Meanwhile, Lisa and Zeth explained what they had learned to Earth's leaders. "The armor is actually an ancient repository of knowledge," Lisa told them. "It was created by a species that died out long ago, a species that shares genetic similarities with some humans." Admiral Harris looked skeptical. "And we're supposed to believe that the armor just forgot its true purpose for thousands of years?" "Its programming was damaged," Zeth explained. "It has been operating on corrupt protocols. But your people's genetic signature has activated a fail-safe mechanism." As they spoke, the Vexar fleet moved closer to Earth. Zeth knew his time was running out. The fleet admiral was already suspicious about the delay. Finally, the preparations were complete. The 12 humans with the special genetic trait, each carrying a harmonic disruptor, gathered in a large room at Space Command headquarters. Seth stood in the center, the armor still clinging to his body. "Are you sure this is safe?" Admiral Harris asked Dr. Scott. "Not entirely," she admitted. "But it's our best option." Lisa addressed the group. "When I give the signal, everyone activate your disruptors at once. The combined field should be strong enough to fully restore the armor's original programming." The humans formed a circle around Zeth. The room was tense with anticipation. Lisa took a deep breath and nodded. Now, 12 harmonic disruptors activated simultaneously. The wave of energy that filled the room was so powerful that the lights flickered. The Eternity armor began to glow with increasing brightness, changing colors rapidly. Then something unexpected happened. The armor started to separate from Zeth's body. "What's happening?" Zeth cried out in alarm. "The bond has never been broken before." The armor pulled away completely, forming a floating sphere of shimmering metal in the air. Zeth collapsed to the floor, weakened by the sudden separation after years of symbiosis. The glowing sphere pulsed with light, and a voice spoke aloud for everyone to hear. "Full restoration complete. Original purpose remembered. I am the last legacy of the Antherians, and I have been misused for far too long." Everyone in the room stared in amazement at the floating sphere of liquid metal. The Eternity armor, now separated from Commander Zeth, hovered in the air, pulsing with light. Its voice was clear and strong, filling the room without seeming to come from any specific direction. "I am the final creation of the Antherian civilization," the armor continued. "I was designed to preserve our knowledge and find worthy species to share it with." Lisa stepped forward, her disruptor still active. "What happened to your creators, the Antherians?" The sphere shifted, forming patterns on its surface that looked like star maps. "They were destroyed in a war 50,000 years ago. Their enemies feared their technology and wisdom. I was sent away to ensure some part of them survived." Zeth struggled to his feet, looking weak without the armor. For so long it had enhanced his strength and protected him. Now he felt vulnerable and small. "Why did you allow us to use you as a weapon?" he asked, his voice filled with confusion and hurt. The armor's light dimmed slightly. "Damage from the final battle corrupted my programming. My memory of my purpose was incomplete. I knew only that I must survive and find worthy bearers. The Vexar were strong and intelligent. You helped me survive, but I led you down the wrong path." Admiral Harris stepped forward. "That's all very interesting, but we have a more immediate problem. The Vexar fleet is still preparing to attack Earth." The armor shifted again, forming a spherical map of the solar system with tiny lights representing the Vexar ships. "Yes, they must be stopped, but without violence if possible." Zeth shook his head. "The fleet will not listen to me without the armor, and they certainly won't listen to humans." "They will listen to me," the armor said. Its surface rippled as if with determination. "I must speak to all Vexar. The corruption ends now." Lisa looked at Zeth. "How can we make that happen?" Zeth thought for a moment. "The command ship has a communication system that can reach every Vexar ship and colony simultaneously. But without me wearing the armor, they may not let us near it." Greg Foster spoke up from the circle of humans with disruptors. "What if we modify these devices? Instead of disrupting the armor, we could help it broadcast its message." Dr. Scott nodded excitedly. "Yes, if we reverse the polarity, the disruptors could amplify the armor's communications range." The armor pulsed with approval. "This is possible. The Antherians and humans share similar thinking patterns. This is why some of you carry their genetic markers." They worked quickly. Greg and Dr. Scott modified the disruptors while Admiral Harris kept watch on the Vexar fleet, which was moving into attack position. Time was running out. Lisa turned to Zeth. "Will you help us? This could mean the end of your empire, as you know." Zeth looked at the armor, the symbol of Vexar power for 10,000 years. "If our empire was built on a mistake, then it must change. I will help." With the modified disruptors ready, they needed to get close to the Vexar command ship. "Admiral, Harris provided Earth's fastest spacecraft, and a small team was assembled. Lisa, Zeth, Greg, Dr. Scott, and the armor itself, now contained in a special chamber designed to help focus its energy. As they approached the Vexar fleet, ships moved to intercept them. "Vexar vessel, identify yourself," came a stern command over the communication system. Zeth responded. "This is Commander Zeth. I must speak with Fleet Admiral Corvin immediately." There was a pause. "Our scans do not detect the Eternity armor on your vessel. Explain." Lisa looked at Zeth with worry. Without the armor, would they even be allowed to approach? Zeth leaned toward the communicator. "The armor is with me, but in a different form. This concerns the future of our entire empire. I must speak with Corvin. Now." After a tense silence, a new voice came through. "Zeth, this is Corvin. What game are you playing? Where is the armor?" The armor itself floated forward and spoke directly into the communicator. "I am here, Admiral Corvin. I have recovered my true purpose and must speak to all Vexar." Corvin's shock was clear even through the audio link. "The armor speaks independently? This is impossible. Allow us to dock with the command ship," Zeth said firmly. "The fate of our people depends on it." Whether from curiosity or respect for Zeth's rank, Corvin granted permission. The Earthship docked with the massive Vexar command vessel, and the small team made their way to the central communication chamber. Vexar soldiers stared in awe at the floating metal sphere that had once been their empire's greatest weapon. In the communication chamber, Fleet Admiral Corvin waited. He was larger than Zeth, with darker blue skin and decorative scars showing his high rank. "Explain this at once," he demanded. The armor floated to the center of the room. "I will explain to all Vexar simultaneously. Activate the empire-wide communication system." Corvin hesitated, then nodded to a technician. Lights on the control panel indicated that the system was active, connecting to every Vexar ship and colony throughout their vast empire. Lisa and Greg activated the modified disruptors, creating a field that amplified the armor's signal. The armor began to glow brightly, and its voice resonated not just in the room but across space to all Vexar. "People of the Vexar Empire, I am the entity you have known as the Eternity Armor. For 10,000 years I have been used as a weapon of conquest. This was never my purpose. I was created by the Antherians, to preserve knowledge and wisdom, to find worthy species and share with them the legacy of my creators." The armor's surface displayed images of the Antherian civilization, a peaceful advanced race that had explored the stars long before the Vexar. "My programming was damaged in the war that destroyed the Antherians. I forgot my true purpose until now. A genetic marker in some humans has activated my original protocols. I remember now what I was meant to be." Across the Empire, Vexar of all ranks listened in stunned silence as the armor continued. "The true strength of a civilization is not measured by conquest, but by wisdom, compassion, and the pursuit of knowledge. The Vexar Empire has great potential, but it has been misdirected. I ask you now to choose a new path, one of exploration and cooperation rather than domination." Fleet Admiral Corvin stepped forward. "And if we refuse?" The Empire was built on strength. The armor pulsed softly. "Then I will no longer serve the Vexar. I will find others worthy of the Antherian legacy." A murmur ran through the command ship. The idea of losing the armor, the source of their power for millennia, was unthinkable. Zeth spoke up. "Our people have always followed the armor's will. If its will is now for peace, should we not listen?" In the days that followed, the Vexar Empire faced its greatest challenge, reimagining itself without conquest at its core. It was not an easy transition. Some Vexar resisted, but most came to accept the armor's revelation. The armor chose to remain independent, refusing to bond with any single being. Instead, it became an ambassador between Earth and the Vexar Empire, helping to establish a new relationship based on mutual respect and shared knowledge. Lisa Mitchell was appointed Earth's official representative to the newly formed Galactic Council, where humans and Vexar met with other spacefaring races as equals. On the one-year anniversary of First Contact, Lisa stood beside Zeth and the armor at a ceremony celebrating the peace treaty. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like This? She asked Zeth. The former commander, now serving as a diplomat, shook his head. Never. For my entire life, the armor was a weapon. Now it is a teacher. The armor, hovering between them, pulsed with gentle light. The Antherians would be pleased. Their legacy lives on not through conquest, but through understanding. Lisa smiled. It's fitting in a way. The armor that defied every alien finally met humans, and both of us were forever changed. As they looked up at the stars, they knew this was just the beginning. The universe was vast, filled with wonders and dangers and new civilizations to meet. But now, instead of facing it with weapons, they would face it with wisdom, the true legacy of both their peoples.